Hello guys, good day. Welcome to another video lecture in ACC 311 Income Taxation. So in this specific video lecture, we will be discussing another topic in income tax. We have benefits received by an employee in a form of de minimis and fringe benefits. So in this video lecture, we will be discussing what are the tax consequences when an employee receives a de minimis benefit and fringe benefits from their respective employers. But before we proceed, guys, with our discussion, I'd like to give thanks to my 720 current subscribers with my channel. Thank you very much. So we are near with our 1,000 goal. So for those who weren't able to subscribe yet with my channel, baka naman pwede mag-subscribe, no? Baka naman. Okay, so speaking of our subject matter for this video lecture, we will have the minimis benefit first. So when we talk about the minimis benefits, these are benefits of relatively small values provided by the employer to the employee on top of the basic compensation intended for the welfare of the employee. It is not considered as taxable compensation income and as such will not be subject to income tax and withholding tax on compensation. So from the word itself, guys, relatively small values. So these are petty benefits derived by an employee from their employers. When actually an employee receives the minimis benefit, it is generally exempt from taxation. Okay? It is considered as additional deductible salaries expense on the point of view of the employer, but an additional compensation not subject to tax on the point of view of the employee. When the employer gave the many benefits to their employees, this will also be considered as additional deductible expenses on their part, meaning it can be deducted to their taxable income or their gross income in computing for their taxable income. But on the point of view of the employee, it is considered as additional compensation income but will not be subject to tax. Okay? Generally, the minimis benefits or the minimis benefits are exempt from tax, but only up to the extent of their ceiling. Because every de minimis benefits will have their ceiling, meaning the maximum amount that will be exempted from taxation. That means when a de minimis benefits exceeds with the prescribed ceiling, then any excess of that prescribed ceiling will now be considered as part of your other benefits. And when your other benefits exceeds 90,000, so that's the time where your benefit will be taxable. Okay? Ulitan ko lang, when a de minimis benefits exceeds their respective ceiling, then it will be considered as part of the 13th month pay and other benefits. And when your 13th month pay and other benefits exceeds the 90,000 ceiling, then that's the only time when your benefit will be subject to tax and will be considered as a compensation income subject to graduated tax rates. Okay? So, speaking of de minimis benefits, guys, here are the exclusive list of de minimis benefits as per RR 11 2018 or as amended by your train law. So when we talk about exclusive, meaning whatever is the benefit that is listed in this table are the only items which are considered as the minimis benefits. Okay? So that means if it is not included in this list, that will not be considered as a de minimis benefit. Okay? As what I have mentioned you earlier, per de minimis benefit has their respective ceiling. Okay? When the de minimis benefits is within the range of this exempt ceiling, then we don't have any problem because whatever is that de minimis benefit received by the employee will be exempted from income taxation. Pero nga, when it exceeds 10,000 or when it exceeds the ceiling, then it will be forming part as your additional benefits. And when that additional benefits exceeds 90,000, then that will be considered as compensation income in excess of 90,000. So again, let's start with monetized unused vacation leave credits of private employees. Okay? Take note guys that if you will be employed in the future, if you are currently employed right now, your employers will give you vacation leave credits or sick leave credits. But what is only considered as the many benefits for private employees are those monetized unused vacation leave credits. Okay? Vacation leave credits lang ang considered as the many benefits if you are privately employed up to 10 days. Okay? It will be exempted up to 10 days. So for example, you are employed guys in a private entity and then your employer gave you 15 days vacation leave credits and 15 days sick leave credits, then if you weren't able to use that leave credits, guys, only up to the extent of your 10 days vacation leave credits will be considered as exempt na monetized benefit. Okay? So that is unfortunate for um, employees employed in a private entity because it is only exempted up to 10 days pero only sa kanilang vacation leave credits. So other than that, that will now be considered as other income. Okay? Another is monetized vacation plus sick leave credits of government employees. So ito, when you are government employed, when you are working in the government, all of your leave credits, whether it is vacation or sick leave credits, when it is not actually used for a particular year, it will be monetized, and that monetized vacation and sick leave credits on its entirety, kung pila man na ang gihatag sa imuhang employer guys or ni government employer, whether it's 15 vacation leave credits or 15 sick leave credits, all of those unused vacation leave credits can be monetized and will be exempted. Okay? It will be exempted. Unlike kay private nga, ang exempted lang is up to 10 days for vacation leave credits. Other than that, pag meron pang monetization ng excess sa 10 days for your vacation leave credit and even for your sick leave credit, then that will now be considered as other benefits. Another guys, we have medical cash allowance. Medical cash allowance for 1,500 per employee per semester. So that is or 250 pesos per month. Okay, that is per month or per semester. We also have here guys your rice subsidy with an equivalent of 2,000 or one sack of 50 kilogram rice per month amounting to not more than 2,000. So for example, your employer gave you as a benefit one sack of rice, and then the value of that one sack of rice is 2,500. So the exemption lang guys is only up to the 2,000. The excess of 500 per month will be considered as component of your other benefits. Another, we also have uniform and clothing allowance that is equivalent to 6,000 per month. Actually, yearly medical benefits, we also have 10,000 per month. And laundry allowance for 300 pesos per month. We also have employee achievement awards that is for 10,000 per year when the employee actually receives an award that is exempted up to 10,000. So any excess up to 10,000, then that will now be considered as component of your other benefits. And then we also have here Christmas and major anniversary gift received by an employee is exempted up to 5,000 per year. And then we also have daily meal allowance, which is 25% of basic minimum wage. Okay, this minimum wage will also depend on your minimum wage fee, because your minimum wage will differ depending on which region you belong. Okay, so 25% based on the basic minimum wage will be exempted. And lastly, guys, you have benefits received under CBA, or productivity incentive bonus, or productivity incentive schemes, which is 10,000 per year for both CBA or productivity incentive schemes. Okay, although guys, these are the many benefits, but you are too lucky enough if you are employed benefiting all of these de minimis benefits. Okay, you're too lucky. But what is in reality, somehow these de minimis benefits are not really given on its entirety, no? Kaning 11 items of the minimis benefits are not usually really given in full. So you're too lucky enough if you are employed with this complete set of the minimis benefit. So again, you need to properly familiarize the ceiling of the exemption, because again, any excess of that ceiling will now be covered as part of your other benefits. Now, here are the important points to remember in dealing with your de minimis benefit, guys. So again, as what I have mentioned earlier, that the list is exclusive, meaning any other benefits that is received by the employee that is not included in the list provided earlier will not be considered as a de minimis benefits. All other benefits not included in the enumeration are not de minimis benefits, hence will be subjected to income tax or withholding tax. Okay? When the minimis benefit has a ceiling, the benefit is exempt up to the ceiling, as what I have mentioned earlier. And the excess shall form part of your other benefits that will be exempt up to 90,000 under Section 34 or under Section 32B of the train law. Okay? Anything in excess of 90,000 will again be subject to tax. I would like also to clarify, guys, the difference between Christmas bonus and Christmas gift. When we talk about Christmas bonus, it is actually referred to as performance based and is actually non-discretionary to the employer, while a Christmas gift or a gift itself is a gratuity and is discretionary upon the employer. Okay, when an employee received Christmas bonus or Christmas gift, it is actually differing, guys, when the employee is employed in a government or in private. Because when Christmas bonus is received, now we don't have a problem because all Christmas bonus will be recognized as 13th month pay and other benefits, both for those employees, sorry for the spelling, both for the employees employed in the government and private entities. Pero when it is actually a gift, guys, when it is actually a gift, Christmas gift is considered as a 13th month pay and other benefits kapag government employee ka. Pero if it is employed, or if the employee is employed in a private entity, then therefore it will be considered as a de minimis benefits. Okay? So again, this is so timely because we are on the season of receiving 13th month pay and any other bonuses from our um employers. So that is why we really need to know the tax consequences when we actually, as employees, receive these Christmas bonus or Christmas gift from our employers. Okay, guys. So speaking of 13th month pay and other benefits, so as what I have mentioned with you earlier, when your de minimis benefit exceeds with the maximum ceiling of the exemption allowed by the law, it will be considered as 13th month pay and other benefits. So aside from that, guys, what are other components of your 13th month pay and other benefits? That comprises your 90,000 na maximum ceiling as per RA 10963. So number one is obviously your 13th month pay. Okay? 13th month pay received from received by employer employed in a government or in a private entity. Now, speaking of 13th month pay, guys, when you are employed in a government entity, it is actually equivalent to a 1 month salary plus a 5,000 cash gift. Okay? It is as per RA 6686 as amended by RA 8441. Again, 13th month pay for a government employee is equivalent to 1 month pay plus 5,000 cash gift. Pero if you are employed in a private entity, your 13th month pay will only be equivalent to 1 month salary as per Presidential Decree 851. Okay? So, it's another sana all na employed sa government entity para may 5,000 additional gift. Pero again, other than that, regardless if you are employed in a government or private entity, what is important is you have received something. Okay? You have received something that you should be grateful. In both cases, that 13th month pay received by yours will be exempted up to 90,000. Okay? Considering also the other benefits received by the employee. Okay, speaking of other benefits, guys, what includes your other benefits? Okay, number one, we have Christmas bonus of private employees, cash gift other than Christmas of or anniversary gift of private employees, additional compensation allowance of government personnel, 14th month pay, 15th month pay. O grabe na to ha. Super sana all na gyud ang may 14th month pay, super sana all gyud ang 15th month pay and etc. Other fringe benefits of rank and file employees. When it is a fringe benefit, guys, we will be talking about fringe benefits later. When it is actually received by a rank and file, then it will be considered as other benefits. And your excess from ceiling sa de minimis benefits will also form part of your other benefits. So the aggregate of all of these components when exceeds 90,000, so the excess from that 90,000 will be considered as additional compensation income and therefore will be subject to tax. Okay? So we have here an illustration to compute for a possible taxable income from a de minimis benefit and other benefits derived by an employee. We have here a private rank and file employee working on a remote tower station of no signal telecom received the following benefit during 2019. Okay? It receives 13th month pay of 87,000. Oh, bongga na ang 13th month pay na sobraan ra pud yang 13th month pay 87,000 pero rank and file siya. Okay, sige lang. Performance bonus na 15,000. Christmas gift of 22,000. Danger exposure or hazard pay. Danger exposure, guys, or hazard pay is considered as supplementary compensation together with your overtime pay, night differential pay, and any other supplemental compensation received by an employee by its employer. Okay, generally guys, speaking of this supplementary compensation when received by a taxable employee, then therefore it whatever supplementary na compensation received by a taxable employee will also be taxable. Pero when a minimum wage earner which is exempted from paying income tax receives a supplementary compensation like hazard pay, overtime pay, night differential pay are also exempted. Okay? So you should remember that. Another, we have here housing privilege, but this time the convenience is naakay employer. Okay? Naakay employer. So it is considered as a French benefit pero it is exempted. Why exempted? Because it is on the convenience of the employer. Okay? It should be on the convenience of the employee para ma-taxable siya na French benefit. So that is why this one, housing privilege, is exempted. Another, guys, this is uniform and clothing allowance, good for 1 month, received was 7,000, and then laundry allowance for 1 year, 6,000, and your monetized unused leave credits for 15 days. Okay? So rank and file, this is private entity. So therefore, it is only exempted up to 10 days times 450 pesos per day. So any excess of that, or in short, 5 days na excess sa 50, again, the 5 days which is the excess of the 10-day exemption will be considered as part of your other benefits. So let us try to compute for the taxable benefit. So again, let us account first for our de minimis benefits. So we have 4 de minimis benefits here in a form of Christmas gift. So si Christmas gift here is a de minimis benefit since the employee is a private employed employee. Again, so since si employee is privately employed, then therefore any Christmas gift received by him will be considered as a de minimis benefit. So therefore, it received 22,000 tapos ang limit lang ng de minimis benefits is 5,000. So therefore, there is an excess na 17,000 which will be considered as part of your other benefits. We also have uniform and clothing allowance for 7,000. So again guys, that is I think for um 1 month. So 1 month lang, so 7,000. The limit is 6,000, so there is in excess of 1,000 also. And then laundry allowance. Laundry allowance, guys, this is good for 1 year. So the minimum, guys, is I think ano, how much was the minimum? The minimum was, or the exempted was 300, okay? 300 per month. So 300 times 12, so up to the extent of 3,600 will be exempted. So any excess from that 600, 6,000, 6,000 minus 36, so 2,400 will be considered as other benefits. And then we also have monetized leave credits. So the total monetized leave credits is 15 days. So 15 days times 450, the pay per day. So that is 6,750. Pero the exempted is only up to 10 days. So 450 times 10 days, so we have 4,500. So your total benefits, so total na monetized leave credit to be considered as other benefit, guys, will be 2,250. So totaling all the excess de minimis benefits, we have 22,650. You add the 13th month pay para makompute nato ang total 13th month pay and other benefits. So giving us 109,650 na total 13th month pay and other benefits. Less your exclusion threshold na 90,000. So that means meron tayong taxable 13th month pay na 19,650. So again, that 19,650 will be considered as compensation income or additional compensation income which will be taxable. Okay? So again, meron tayong notes diri sa baba. So as mentioned earlier, your performance bonus and hazard pay are supplemental compensation or additional compensation. Therefore, it will be taxable. And as mentioned also earlier, your housing privilege is an exempt fringe benefit because the convenience is on the employer. Okay? Requisite para mataxable ang fringe benefit, dapat the convenience is on the employee. Okay? So, even if, again, bisan pa og naa kay employee ang convenience, guys, that will, when the French benefit is in the convenience of the employee, such French benefit, guys, will be considered as other taxable benefit gyapon because the taxpayer is rank and file man. Okay? So again, as mentioned, we will discuss into or in detail later fringe benefit tax. Okay? So that is for your de minimis benefits. Okay? So this time, let us proceed kay fringe benefits. What is a fringe benefit? Who receives fringe benefit? And um how it is taxed, no? Okay, speaking of fringe benefit, so fringe benefit, it means any good, service, or other benefit furnished or granted by an employer in cash or in kind in addition to basic salaries to an individual employee except rank and file. Okay, so speaking of fringe benefits, this is any other benefits, guys, except your de minimis benefits, of course, that is given by the entity to any other employee except rank and file. In short, it is a benefit received usually by a managerial employee or supervisory employees. Okay? Talking about managerial employee, it is one who is vested with powers or prerogative to lay down and execute management policies and or hire, transfer, suspend, lay off, recall, discharge, assign, or discipline employees. And for a supervisor, those who are in the interest of the employer effectively recommend such managerial actions if the exercise of such authority is not merely routinary or clerical in nature but requires the use of independent judgment. Okay, when a French benefit is received by these people, managerial and supervisory employee, or when a benefit received by these types of employee, then therefore it will be considered as fringe benefits. Okay, so fringe benefits are in a form of housing, expense account, vehicle of any kind, household personnel, interest on a loan lower than market rates, membership fees in social and athletic clubs, expenses for foreign travel, holiday and vacation expenses, educational assistance to employee or dependents, and life and health insurance in excess of what is allowed by law are all examples of a fringe benefits that can be derived by a managerial or supervisory employees. Okay? So, um, discussing in detail French benefits, French benefit is actually a final tax. Okay? French benefit is a final tax. It is imposed on the grossed up monetary value. Okay? French benefit tax is imposed on the grossed up monetary value of French benefits furnished or granted or paid by employer to employees except rank and file employees. So later on, guys, we will be discussing on how are we going to compute for the grossed up monetary value for the different types of benefits that can be received by a managerial or supervisory employee. French benefit tax is imposed whether the employer is an individual, professional partnership, or corporation, regardless of whether the corporation is taxable or not, or the government or its instrumentalities. Okay? French benefit tax shall be treated as a final tax on the employee, which shall be withheld and paid by the employer on a calendar quarterly basis. You heard it right, guys, that when a supervisor or a manager receives fringe benefits, the ones who will pay fringe benefit tax is not the ones who actually receive the benefit, but it is actually the employer. Okay? It is the employer who gave the benefit who will also at the same time pay the fringe benefit tax. So it's another sana all here when you are an employee and receives a fringe benefit from your employer because you will be receiving benefit pero you will not be taxed from whatever received na benefit. Okay? So again, another sana all. So let us have the pro forma on how are we going to compute for the fringe benefit tax, guys. So tax base and tax rate, we have here monetary value of fringe benefit. So the pro forma of computing the fringe benefit tax, guys, will start with the monetary value of the fringe benefit. You divide it by 65%, or 65%, guys, will be equal to the 100% minus the fringe benefit tax rate. Okay? So generally, when the taxpayer is resident citizen, non-resident citizen, resident alien, 35%. Okay? Pero when the recipient of the benefit is non-resident alien not engaged to trade in business, the tax rate is only 25%. Or when the recipient, guys, is a special Filipino employee or special alien employee, the tax rate is only 15%. So again, the tax rate and the manner of computation will differ depending on the classification of the taxpayer of the recipient. Okay, so it differ. The tax rate will also differ depending on the classification of the recipient of the French benefit. So again, but the pro forma will just simply be the same. The tax rates lang ang mag-change. So from monetary value of the French benefit, you divide it by 100% minus the tax rate of the FBT, then multiplied by the tax rate to compute for your fringe benefit tax. So again, you divide it by 75 and 85 kung NRA and ETB and special alien or special Filipino employee. Then multiply it by 25 and 15% respectively. So again, guys, very important here is for you to determine the correct monetary value of the fringe benefit. Because even if the process is correct, pero you have incorrectly determined the monetary value of the French benefit, then sayang lang because your output na French benefit tax computed will be incorrect because it will have a domino effect. If your French benefit, if your figure at the beginning is incorrect, then obviously your output figure will also be incorrect. So that is why it is very important for you guys to correctly determine this monetary value of French benefit. And that monetary value will differ depending on what type of benefit is received by the employee. Okay? So we have here the tax accounting for fringe benefit furnished to the employee and the fringe benefit tax due thereon. So deductible fringe benefits and fringe benefit tax. You have heard it correct also, guys, that when the employer distributes fringe benefits and pays fringe benefit tax, both the fringe benefit and the fringe benefit tax will also be considered as deductible expenses on the point of view of the employer. So that means in computing for its taxable income, whatever taxable or whatever fringe benefit and fringe benefit tax paid by the employer will be deducted sa iyahang gross income para makompute ang iyahang taxable income. Okay? Kasi again, fringe benefit and fringe benefit tax will be considered or will be allowed to be deducted by the employer. Okay, general rule, the amount of deductible from the employer's gross income is both the taxable fringe benefit and the fringe benefit tax. Pero kapag ang basis ng fringe benefit tax is simply the depreciation value, then obviously what will be deducted lang is the actual fringe benefit tax paid. Also, when the tax base is zonal value per BIR commissioner and fair market value per current real property tax or declaration. When it is the basis of the fringe benefit tax, then therefore, what will be deducted lang is the actual fringe benefit tax paid by the employer. Okay? So, considering computation for our monetary value, so basic rule in computing for the monetary value, letter A, in case of housing privilege and motor vehicle. So example, when there is an issued housing privilege and motor vehicle, if there is no transfer of ownership, the monetary value is equal to the 50% of the value of the benefit. Or if there is transfer of ownership, the monetary value of the French benefit will be the same as the value of the benefit. Okay? So tandaan, kapag walang transfer of ownership, 50% lang ang value, 50% lang ang monetary value. 50% sa value of the benefit. Pero kung na ay transfer of ownership, so therefore, whatever is the amount of the benefit will also be the amount of the monetary value. And then, in case of other fringe benefits, the monetary value of benefit is the same as the value of the benefit. So later on, we will be discussing, guys, all other types of fringe benefits. Pero ang common na fringe benefit that can be received by a supervisor or an employee is housing privilege or motor vehicle, no? So this is common, housing privilege and motor vehicle privilege. Pero that is also not limited. Pwede rin maka-receive ng other benefits. So later on, we will discuss what are those other fringe benefits. Okay, so let us discuss here the computation of the monetary value of the benefit when the fringe benefit is a housing privilege. Okay, there are 5, guys, possible cases or possible scenario when the benefit is a housing privilege. So letter A, employer leases residential property for the use of the employee. Okay, so it is the employer daw who pays the rent of the condo unit or the house nga gipuyaan ni employee. Okay? So the value of the benefit is equal to the rental paid. Okay? Rental paid. So the monetary value of the benefit there will be equal to 50% of the value of the benefit. Okay? Since there is no transfer of ownership. So therefore, monetary value is only equal to 50% of the value of the benefit. And the value of the benefit there is the rental paid by the employer. Another, employer owns a residential property which was assigned to an officer for his use as residence. Okay? In this case, the property is owned by the employer pero there is no transfer of ownership. So in this case, guys, the value of the benefit will be equal to 5% of the fair market value of the land and improvements. Then multiply it by 50% para ma-compute nimo ang monetary value of the benefit. Okay? Or when the employer purchases residential property on installment basis and allows the employee to use the same as his residence. So sa letter C, guys, ang kalahian ni letter C kay letter B, sa letter C, um the property is new and it is purchased on installment basis. Pero again, the ownership is not transferred on the name of the employee. So the value of the benefit there will be equal to 5% of the acquisition cost. Take note, exclusive of interest. So you need to extract interest from that if there's any. And then the monetary value of the benefit will be equal to 50% of the value of the benefit. And then, letter D, when employer purchases a resident property and transfers the ownership in the name of the employee. So in this case, guys, there is transfer of ownership. So that means the value of the benefit will be equal to the cost or the fair market value, whichever is higher. Okay? So the monetary value will also follow whichever is higher between cost or fair market value. And then letter E, when employer purchases a residential property and transfers ownership to his employee for the latter's residential use at a price less than the employer's, what is that? Employer's acquisition cost. So in this case, sa letter E, guys, the employer purchases new property, pero there is portion of it coming from the employee. So therefore, what will be taxable benefit there is only the amount shouldered by the employer. Okay? So for example, the value of the property is 1 million and 500 pesos of that is shouldered by the employee. So therefore, ang value of the benefit lang dira guys is kadto lang 500,000 pesos na gibayad ni employee. Okay? Kadtong gibayad ni employer obviously will not be considered as a benefit and therefore will not be subject to tax. Okay? So let us proceed to specific illustration per type of circumstance under housing benefit. Okay, we have here number 1, when employer leases a residential property for the use of his employee and the said property is the usual residence of the employee. So as what we have mentioned, guys, the monetary value is equal to 50% of the benefit. So in this case, we have quarterly value of 20,000 because take note, guys, that French benefit tax will be paid on a quarterly basis. So when you compute French benefit tax, you assume that it is on a quarterly basis unless otherwise that the problem is asking for you to compute for the annual French benefit tax. Okay? So in this case, the employer pays 20,000 per month. So therefore, 20,000 times 3 to constitute the quarterly value na 60,000 and then multiply it by 50%, guys, since the monetary value is just simply equal to 50% of the benefit. So therefore, the taxable French benefit here will be 30,000. Okay, from the 30,000, it will be divided to 65%. For example, if the taxpayer is a resident citizen, so 30,000 divide 65% and then multiply it by 35% para makompute mo ang imuhang fringe benefit tax. Okay? Now, number two, employer owns a residential property and assigns the same for the use of his employee as his usual place of residence. And the annual value of the benefit is 5% of zonal value or assessed value, whichever is higher. So in this case, for example, Chamberlain Incorporated allowed one of its unused realty investment costing 3.5 million with zonal value of 4.5 million and an assessed value of 3 million, guys. So obviously our um tax base here will be 4 million. 4 million times 5%. So 4 million times 5%, guys, for per year. 4 million times 5% per year divided by 4 quarters since there are 4 quarters in a year para makompute nato ang French benefit tax per quarter. So 4 million times 5%, so that is 200,000 annual monetary value nato divided by 4 quarters. So per quarter you will have 50,000, and the monetary value nato, guys, since there is no transfer of ownership here, so you multiply it again by 50%. So ang quarterly monetary value lang nato will be 25,000. So 25,000 will be your monetary value in that case. Okay, another number three. When the employer purchases a residential property on installment basis, so same earlier, guys, no? Same earlier that your monetary value will just simply be 50% of the monetary value. So that is 5% of the acquisition cost exclusive of interest. For example, Cotabato Corporation purchased a residential property for the use of its production manager. The property is payable over 11 annual installment of 2 million. For accounting purposes, Cotabato Corporation opted to capitalize the interest and recorded the 2.2 million contract price as acquisition cost of the property. So the acquisition cost was 2.2 million including the interest of 200,000. So as rule, you need to exclude 200,000, guys, in computing for your benefit. Okay? So you have there 2 million, 2.2 million minus the interest of 200,000. So you will have 2 million. Multiply it by 5% para makompute nato ang ato ang benefit, and then divide it by 4 quarters for a year, so we have 25,000, and then multiply it by 50% because again there is no transfer of ownership from the employer to the employee. So in this case, your monetary value, guys, will be 12,500. Okay? 12,500. Pero kung silent naman si problem, guys, about interest, so you don't need to assume that the acquisition cost is inclusive of interest. So you don't need to assume na meron siyang interest. So you use directly whatever is the acquisition cost presented in the problem. Okay, next. Number 4, purchase by the employer of a residential property and transfer of ownership in the name of the employee. So in this case, the employer purchases a property and transfers the ownership to the employee. So sana all again. A non-profit corporation bought a residential dwelling for 5 million and transferred ownership to its president. The property has 3 million zonal value. So in this case, guys, since there is a transfer of ownership, then therefore the monetary value is the entire 5 million, which is higher than the book value. Okay? Or cost in the case of zonal value. So the entire 5 million will be subject to French benefit tax. And then lastly, number 5, when the employer purchases a property and then portion of the acquisition cost of it is shouldered by the employee. So whatever is the amount shouldered by the employer lang ang subject to French benefit tax. Example, Denzi, a professional practitioner, transferred his residential property in the name of his managerial employee for 2 million. The property has a fair fair value per tax declaration of 3.4 million and 5 million zonal value. So since there is transfer of ownership, guys, the monetary value will be 3 million computed as 5 million fair value, which is higher sa imuhang fair value per tax declaration nga only 3.4 million. So that means the benefit is 5 million less the amount cost or less the amount shouldered or paid by the employee, which is 2 million. So therefore, the total taxable French benefit there is 3 million pesos. Okay? 3 million. So those are the important items that you need to consider when a recipient receives housing privilege. Okay? And dapat receive siya by a supervisor or a manager. And then, let us proceed with those housing privileges na exempted. So, unsa man pud ang mga housing privileges na exempted? Number one, military officials of the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP, Philippine Air Force, Philippine Army, Philippine Navy, on their quarters which are within or accessible from the military camp, so they can be readily available on call to meet the exigencies of their military service. Number two, housing units situated or adjacent to the premises of a business or factory with a maximum of 50 meters from the perimeter of business premises. The 50-meter rule may be relaxed when upon the basis of health or safety requirements, such as in the case of chemical manufacturing, the housing needs to be located at a farther location. So ang point lang dira guys is that there is a housing privilege given to the employees for easy access sa ilahang office work or sa ilahang work. Okay? And that is construed as benefit derived by the employer, not by the employee. And lastly, exempt na housing privilege is yung temporary housing for an employee in a housing unit for 3 months or less. Okay? So those items guys will be considered as exempted na housing privileges. Okay, this time, let us proceed with motor vehicle. What if the benefit derived by the manager or the supervisor is a vehicle of any kind? So we have here letter A, for example. Employer owns and maintains a fleet of motor vehicle for the use of the business and employees. So value of the benefit is the acquisition cost of all motor vehicle not normally used for business divided by 5 years and multiply it by 50% para makompute nato ang ato ang monetary value. Okay? So same rule will be followed guys. When there is transfer of ownership, then the monetary value is equal to the entire value of the benefit. Pero when there is no transfer of ownership, only 50% lang ang value sa iyang monetary value based on its benefit. Okay? So, let us proceed with specific examples directly, people. We have here number one, purchase by employer of motor vehicle in the name of the employee, regardless of whether the same is used partially in the business of the employer. Okay? Note that the monetary value shall be reported in the quarter of purchase. Okay? Monetary value will be equal to 100% cost of the motor vehicle. So same earlier guys, that cost should exclude any interest. Okay? And that will be reported as monetary value on the quarter it was purchased. Okay? So kung ano sa siya gipalit, then dito siya i-report as French benefit tax. And therefore, dito apod nga specific quarter, bayaran ang French benefit tax ni employer. Okay? Number 2, cash benefit to employee for the purchase of vehicle even if the vehicle is partly used in the business of the employer. So again, monetary value will be equal to 100% of the cash benefit except when the amount is subjected to withholding tax on compensation. So car benefits that are paid in cash and are subjected to withholding tax on compensation are subject to regular tax, not to fringe benefit tax. If subject to fringe benefit tax, then the monetary value shall be reported in the quarter of payment. Okay? So again, when the car is distributed as a French benefit, then therefore it will be considered as French benefit tax. Pero when the car is given as part of the compensation income, so as mentioned in our inclusions to gross income, guys, any compensation in kind will be taxable based on the fair market value of the property the moment it was received by the employee. So again, so kung ang sakyanan is dili sweldo, therefore it is French benefit tax. Pero kung ang sakyanan is sweldo, okay, it is sweldo in a form of sakyanan or in a form of car, then therefore it will be subject to compensation income and therefore subject to withholding tax. Okay, so dapat you need to identify whether that property is a fringe benefit or as a compensation. Pero in the problem, I'm sure that it will be clearly stipulated that this is considered as a compensation or otherwise. Okay? Number three, purchases of car on installment basis by the employer with ownership placed in the name of the employee even if the car is used partly for the employer's business. Okay? The benefit is the acquisition cost, sorry for the spelling, divided by 5 years. Okay? So monetary value will be 1/5 or 2015 of the acquisition cost. Again, kung may interest, you need to exclude interest. Example, an employer purchased a car for 1 million payable in 4 installment plus 10% interest on the outstanding and paid balance of the car. So the entire acquisition cost, guys, shall be recognized as monetary value since there is transfer of ownership. But regulation, but the regulation requires amortization over 5 years. Hence, the employer shall recognize 1 million divide 5 or 200,000 monetary value annually until 5 years. For every quarter, the employer shall report 200,000 divide 4 or 50,000 na monetary value until the total cost is fully reported over 5 years. So again, that 5 years na amortization period is constant, no? Regardless if that installment term is only good for 4 years. Okay? So regardless if it's only to be paid for 4 years, 4 installment years, but again, to compute for the benefit, kailangan i-divide nato siya for 5 years to compute for the annual benefit. And para ma-compute nato ang quarterly benefit niya, then you will divide it by 4. And para again ma-compute nato, there is a transfer of ownership here ba? Okay, employee in the name of the employee. So don't need, no need to multiply it by 50% since there is transfer of ownership man in the name of the employee. So yun lang, you divide it by 5 and then you divide it by 4 para ma-compute nato ang total monetary value per quarter. Okay? Sige. Next, number 4. Okay, laban pa din. Number 4. Employer shoulders a portion and is placed in the name of the employee. So yun. Parehas kaganina sa housing privilege na si employer purchased a property pero portion of it is shouldered by the employee. Okay? So example, the employer assisted its managerial employee to purchase a brand new car for 4 million. 60% of the value is deductible against future salaries of a managerial employee. So, in short, 60% is shouldered down by the managerial employee because it will be deducted sa iyang future salaries. So, that means only 40% of these guys is considered as a taxable fringe benefit. So, the monetary value will be 1.6 million computed by 4 million times 40% representing only the portion shouldered by the employer. Okay? This will be reported in the quarter where the employer's share is paid. Okay? So again, Obviously, the 60% is not benefit para kay employee because the benefit will be paying it in the future. So therefore, it will not be considered as a fringe benefit, subject to fringe benefit tax. Okay, another, number 5. Fleet of motor vehicles owned for the use of the business and the employees. The value of benefit is the cost of all motor vehicles not used for sales, freight, delivery, service, and other non-personal uses divided by 5 years. So again guys, in this case, monetary value is equal to 50% of the value of the benefit. Okay? It should be noted that the cost of the motor vehicle not used in the business is amortized over 5 years. There being no transfer of title, so the 50% of the benefit is recognized as monetary value. So the quarterly recognition of monetary value continues until the free usage is terminated. It is also important to note that because of the inherent difficulty of tracing the realization of fringe benefits to a particular employee, considering the collective enjoyment of the benefit by the employees, managerial, supervisory, or possibly including rank and file alike, the regulation simply subjected it to the final fringe benefit tax. Okay? So, bihira lang ni siya may tabo, guys, because again, there is difficulty man in determining the portion enjoyed by the employee. Another, fleet of motor vehicle leased for the use of the business and the employee. The value of the benefit is the rental payment for motor vehicles not normally used for sale, freight, delivery, service, and other non-personal use. So the monetary value is equal to 50% of the value of the benefit since ano man lang leased man for the use of the business and the employee. Wala may transfer of property. And number 7, aircraft including helicopters are deemed solely for business use. Hence, will not be subject to French benefit tax. O grabe na gyud nakasana all. Ah, grabe nakasana all when the French benefit is into helicopters. Grabe naman sab. Asa naman ta ibutang ani kung ang French benefit is helicopter. Pero again, ang pasabot lang dara guys when it's actually um aircraft used by the employer tapos gigamit ni employee, okay, for personal use, for example na siya mga personal na mga activities, then he used aircraft owned by the employer. So again, the assumption of that activity is solely and deemed for business use. Pero when yacht, whether owned and maintained or leased by the employer, are presumed not for business use, hence taxable French benefit. If owned or maintained, the value of the benefit is measured as the depreciation value over 20 years. So for example, si employee nagamit sa yacht, okay? So portion of that will be considered as French benefit. Okay? Kay dili man siya assumed or deemed na legit business na activity. So assume a corporation acquired 10 million yacht for the use of its executives. Grabe na, sana all. Again, the monetary value shall be determined guys by dividing it by 20 years. So 10 million divide 20, so have 500,000. So quarterly monetary benefit will be 4 years. So ang monetary benefit per year will be 125,000. Okay? So yacht is considered immovable by virtue of the fact that it is fixed and cannot be removed on water. Hence, the 20-year presumptive useful life for real properties is used. If this is leased, the entire rental payment is the monetary value. Note that the 50% rule is not applied by the regulation. Supposing the yacht is purchased and transferred in the name of the executive, so the monetary value shall be the entire 10 million. Okay? Grabe naman po na, asa na kita ibot ang ana when when the benefit is again yacht. Pero again guys, for example, for depreciation purposes, ang useful life lang niya kay 15 years. So, for the computation of the monetary value, you will still use the 20 years. Okay? Constant ng 20 years dira. Pero for computing depreciation expenses, then you need to use whatever is the specified na expected useful life for that particular property. And another, guys, other fringe benefits. Okay, other fringe benefits. So number one, expense account. Okay, expense account. So any expenses, whether it is personal or any other expenses incurred by the employee pero ang nagbayad kay si employer. So the value of the benefit there, guys, is the amount given or paid by the employer. Okay? And the monetary value of the benefit there is the entire amount. Okay? Entire value of the benefit. Okay? So whatever expenses, as long as the again, as long as it is not for the benefit of the employer, it should always be for the benefit of the employee na nga expenses para ma-consider na siya as taxable fringe benefit. Okay? Another is letter B. O example, guys, example sa expense account, let us say nagpalit og laptop, okay? Nagpalit og laptop, personal property. Okay, nagpalit og laptop si employee pero gigamit niya ang credit card sa employer. Okay? Such laptop, kung gamit lang for leisure, for entertainment purposes, and then sa balay lang gamiton or for personal use lang, then whatever is the cost of that laptop will be taxable fringe benefit. Pero if that laptop will be used sa work ni employee, okay, and that will be brought sa office or again will be for the benefit sa iyang trabaho, then that means that will be considered as non-taxable fringe benefit. Okay? Another, letter B, household personnel such as maid, driver, and others. So, sweldo, compensation sa maid, driver, and others when it is shouldered by the employer, the such will also be considered as taxable fringe benefit. Example, ang katabang ninyo, ang magsweldo is the employer. So again, that will be construed as a fringe benefit also given by the employer sa iyahang employee. Interest on loan at less than market rate to the extent of the difference between the market rate and actual rate granted. Okay? For example, kung magpautang si employer sa third party, let us say ang iyang interest due is 12%. Okay? Pero once nagpautang siya sa iyang employee, sa iyang manager or sa iyang supervisor, ang iyang interest is only good for below 12%. So for example, 6% lang ang iyang ginapautang. Okay? So any difference, guys, ang benchmark nato dira kay 12%. Any difference from that benchmark and from the interest given by the employer sa iyang employee will be the amount of the value of the benefit. Okay? For example, nangutang og 1 million, okay? And then ang interest lang nga gihatag or gipatong ni employer sa iyang employee is 6%. So, you just compare the benchmark rate nato nga 12% minus the rate kung pila man to nga rate ang iyang gihatag sa iyang employees. For example, 6%. So 12% minus 6%. So 6% times 1 million, that will be the amount of the benefit that will be subject to fringe benefit tax. Okay? And then letter D, membership fees, dues, and other expenses borne by the employer for the employee in social athletic clubs and similar organizations, expenses for foreign travels, holiday and vacation expenses, okay, magtrabaho, dili magtrabaho pero magbakasyon, and then foreign travels paid by the employer will also be considered as a fringe benefit tax as long as again it is not part of the trabaho, no, it is not part or related sa work niya as manager or supervisor. And then letter G, guys, educational assistance to the employee or his dependents. Okay, naman tay duha, educational assistance or scholarship given to the employee itself and to the dependents of the employee or mga anak niya. So let us talk first on the scholarship granted to the employee. Okay, that scholarship is exempted, guys, when that scholarship is not related sa iyang current work. Okay? For example, accounting manager. Okay? Accounting manager. Kung mag-eskwela si accounting manager og MBA, okay? Or Doctor of Business Administration or any other further studies that is related and could be helpful sa iyang work as a manager, then therefore it will be non-taxable. Okay? That will be non-taxable fringe benefit. Pero when, for example, your accounting manager studies for culinary, for example, culinary or driving or makeup, sana makeup or ana good na mga skills that is not related sa iyahang that is not related sa iyahang current nga trabaho as an accounting manager. So therefore, such guys will not be or such will be subjected to tax. Okay? Such will be subjected to tax. Sub- Such will be subjected to fringe benefit tax. And then, ang katong mga scholarship given by the employer or granted by the employer sa mga grantees or granted by the employer sa mga beneficiaries or sa mga dependents ni employee or mga anak or whoever is the beneficiary of that employee will also be automatically subject to tax. Okay? Subject to fringe benefit tax. And lastly, guys, letter H, life or health insurance and other non-life insurance premiums or similar amounts in the name of the employee or in excess of what the law allows will also be taxable fringe benefit. Okay? Okay, I think this is the last illustration. Denver Corporation paid the following expenses which were liquidated by its managerial employee. Okay, it incurs water and electricity bill at manager's home, meals and groceries at manager's home, bill on its business telephone. So that business telephone is exempted because that is related to business. Bill on personal phone. So that is personal. Therefore, it is for the benefit of the employee, subject to tax na siya. Transportation, office to and from clients. So office to and from clients. So that means it is for the benefit of the employer. So therefore, that will be exempted. Pero ang transportation, that is from office to and from the manager's home, that is for the convenience of the employee. So that will be taxable. Si 10,000 will be taxable. And ang foods and beverages for visiting business clients. So that is also considered as part of the business expenses and therefore will not be taxable fringe benefit. So in total, ang taxable monetary value lang or ang taxable fringe benefit lang, guys, will be the water and electricity bill at the director's home or the manager's home, meals and groceries at the director's home na 18, bill on personal phone na 1 million, transportation, office to home na 10,000. So totaling monetary value of 44,000. Okay? So again, needless to say, business, telephone bills, office to client transportation, and food and beverages for client visitor are business expenses and therefore will not be subjected to fringe benefit tax. Okay. So, napadi ay okay, sige. So, unsa man pud ang mga benefits na not subject to fringe benefit tax? I think this is the last slide na. Fringe benefits authorized and exempted under the tax code or special law. Contributions of employer for the benefit of employee to retirement, insurance, and hospitalization benefit plans. Benefits given to rank and file employees, that is not fringe benefit expense. Pero take note, guys, when there is a benefit given by a rank given by the employer to its rank and file employees, that will also be forming part as part of the total deductions the employer. Okay? And then the minimis benefits, and then those granted to employees as required by nature or necessary to the trade, business, or profession of the employer, and all those benefits granted for the convenience of the employer. So again, before a fringe benefit becomes taxable, dapat it is for the benefit of the employee. Okay, so I am glad that we have come to the end of our slides. So that's it for our video lecture for this day. Speaking of your de minimis benefit and fringe benefit. So again, de minimis benefits are those relatively small value which is exempted up to the extent of the maximum ceiling. Pero si fringe benefits, these are benefits given by the employer to their supervisor or managerial employees, which is, again, for the benefit or for the convenience of the employee. Okay? So if you have matters or queries, puzzled thoughts, clarifications for this topic regarding the minimis benefit and um, French benefit tax, do not hesitate to ask it during our virtual class or you may comment down below kung na may mga pangutana. Okay, so again, that's it for our video lecture for today. So again and again, I would be very appreciative and thankful if you would subscribe to my channel. So again, that's it for this day. Thank you and God bless everyone. Bye-bye.